Aw, yeah. We out here, baby. Coming at you like a statue. Welcome to the MeatDad Podcast. We got some great stuff going on today. On this week's episode.
And by the time I've done cleaning up, I've consumed 2 times what I ate for dinner. You know, well, the stuffing doesn't all fit in the Tupperware, so I'll just eat this last couple of bites.
You know, right here, the crusty part on the corner, man.
Yeah.
Like, oh, I'm not going to let that crusty part go to waste.
Let's fucking go.
Good morning. And
Tony, how are you?
I am excellent. Welcome to the first official episode of the MeatDad Podcast.
Let's go.
Let's go, baby. Let's go. I am stoked to have you. You were the first person on my mind. I'm infatuated with your content, with all the stuff, man, that you've done. I'm a huge fan. For those of you that don't know, let me introduce you. This is Ethan Suplee. Everybody, Ethan Suplee.
Hello, nice to meet you all.
Welcome. Yeah, it's a pleasure, man. It's great to have you on here. I'm excited to start this this journey of podcasting. I'd love to pick your brain about how to even do this, man. I'm new to all of it, and you've been in the game for a long time, so I'm definitely excited to talk to you a little bit about, you know, all the aspects of podcasting and acting and, you know, family life, and just kind of, you know, what brought you to this point in your life, and how you got here, because you seem to be a pretty happy-go-lucky fella.
Yeah, dude, podcasting is rad. It's the only place where you get like a thoroughly natural conversation. You know, most of the media we're served is really heavily edited or thought through, and sometimes I think you miss something in that. And so it's nice to be able to just come on and have a conversation with somebody.
I agree. If you just post some content and tell people about something, they're going to take it a lot differently than if you were having a conversation with somebody else and then listening to this conversation. And I never really thought of it until like recently, but it makes a lot of sense of why it seems more authentic. You know, it's not like a sales pitch.
Right. Social media, you do get lost in how small and how concise everything is. And I think it can be useful to sell something or talk about a single idea from one point of view. But if you want to get like super nuanced and get deep into the weeds, and you know, it's funny with social media, you can post something where you're thinking blue and like 40 other people write like red is so cool. And you're like, well, I don't know how you came up with red. And I don't know why I picked blue and red. It's Bloods and Crips, not Democrats and Republicans.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean? But like, it's hard. Like, I like podcasts, and I've been writing for Substack literally just because there's like a 2,000 character limit on Instagram, and you can throw a picture up, you can throw a video up, but like sometimes I'm thinking about stuff that, you know, a single picture is not going to communicate everything I'm thinking.
Yes.
A single video is not going to communicate everything we're going to talk about on this podcast. And so it's good to have podcasting and Substack and areas where you can get into more long form stuff and, you know, describe the nuance, because I think quite often you can be hitting at something that would resonate with somebody else if you found the angle that approached their point of view. And it's not always easy to do that with one, you know, you got 1 minute. Get them on board in 1 minute. You know, that
man, maybe 30 seconds at this point in life, man. The attention span of everyone is just collapsing, you know. And if it doesn't get your attention or keep you for that first 5 seconds, man, you're swiping.
Yeah,
you're swiping, and then they're gone. They're not in the algorithm anymore, man. It was too fast, you know.
I think I don't post a lot of videos. I don't know why videos make me uncomfortable. So I tend to do like video montages of still pictures. That's
Yeah.
just makes me more comfortable. But I did one that was like, I don't even think it was a full minute. And I had a couple comments. Why was this so long? And I'm like, I didn't even use my full time, lady or man or whoever was commenting.
Just yeah, why is this so long? And even to have that kind of question, it's a weird thing for somebody to even ask, you know? I don't know, like what's the what's the point? Like after you get the answer to that, like what are you going to do with that answer, right? Are you going to be satisfied with
Yeah.
whatever the person had to say? Is it going to make your life better? So,
Right.
oh, social media is a trip, man. It is a trip. But with that being said, I mean, just like I have a love-hate relationship with social media, you know. There's obviously the really good parts of it, and then there's the dark sides of it, you know. And so I think that's what we're trying to figure out. That's our next as a planet, and you know, as a human species, man, we have to figure out how to do this the right way, and you know, and so we're all figuring this out now, because yeah, it's bigger than we all could imagine, man. It has so much, you know. I mean, we all remember the uh the popcorn before the movies and the drive-in, and you know all the subliminal messages that you know we learned about. We're like, man, I never even thought it, but that's all the internet is it's subliminal messages one after the next, and it's people selling things or trying to, you know, turn you in a certain direction. And it's if you're not hip to it, man, it's you can slide right down that rabbit hole and think that there's a bunch of honest people, but at the end of the day, man, a lot of this shit is just fucking smoke and mirrors, dude. You know, so you just got to be aware at all times with this stuff, man.
Yeah, I will say I'm happy that there is an outlet for cooking because you know, one of the issues I ran into, you know, many years ago was that I relied solely basically on fast food, and occasionally I'd go sit down in a restaurant, but I really was like dependent on fast food, and the idea of cooking anything was anathema to me. I couldn't you know, why would I try to cook something if I could drive 5 minutes away and go to a drive-through and get a cheap bag filled with the most delicious things ever. But I think I hope my hope is that so many people enjoy watching cooking and getting recipes and ideas about cooking that I'm hoping home cooking uh is becoming more popular, you know. And again, I have to say all
No
this
doubt.
from my experience. Maybe, you know, maybe not everybody is eating too much fast food like I was, but fast food seems to be a very thriving industry. And so I do like that social media presents this area where you can learn something, you can get new ideas, you know, try new spices, try new recipes, try new techniques, get the meat at Costco, cut it yourself. All of that stuff I think is super beneficial on social media.
So what was the main reason or the reasons that you were doing the fast food? Was it because of like convenience and like your time and hours, or just you just didn't cook and you didn't really know how to cook?
I think there was like a confluence of reasons. It was many things. First of all, we weren't really allowed to have fast food when I was a little kid.
Yeah.
My mom was like a hippie. She was probably the first iteration of like what you'd think of nowadays as a Maha mom, you know, the Make America Healthy Again moms who are
Uh-huh.
like super against processed foods and, you know, shop at what is now insanely expensive, quote unquote, health food stores. Where at the time, I think, I don't know how expensive they were. I wasn't raised wealthy, but I remember going into these stores and my perception was these are grocery stores for people who are either dying of cancer, sick, truly sickly, gaunt and jaundiced, or Sikhs. And they were there for religious reasons.
Yeah.
And, you know, the Sikhs were vegetarians, and it was for those people and people on macrobiotic diets. And I remember you're from California, you know, Erewhon. Erewhon is like a California staple of health food stores, but it's now so bougie. It's now for the poshest people. It's now like Kim Kardashian shops at Erewhon. When I was a little kid, Erewhon had one location on Beverly, and they couldn't keep their lights on, man. It was like dim and dusty. And like, I remember literally thinking there's dust on this stuff because nobody's in here buying it, because nobody wants this stuff. It's like bulk bins and granola and off-brand cereal that tastes like cardboard and, you know, charcoal filtered water and all that stuff. And now, you know, Hailey Bieber
I grew up on none of that stuff. You know, I grew up on none of that.
So that was imposed on me, but my perception of it was that it was being done to me because I was fat. I always understood all my mother's eating strategies as being vectors to reduce my weight. And so I was like, you know, I'd go have a sleepover at a friend's house and be like, what the fuck is Frosted Flakes, man? This stuff's magical. We get this stuff in like literally a cardboard sack that tastes like sawdust, and you have this magical flavored stuff. And the thing is just eating that food had no effect on my weight. Not eating processed foods did not reduce my weight at all. Not at all. In fact, I continued to gain weight. Yeah. You can overeat healthy food, bro.
Oh, yeah.
You know?
Oh, I mean, you definitely can. And it's funny, same with like let's say a vegan or a vegetarian. I used to laugh and be like, in my mind, if you're a vegan or a vegetarian, you are the healthiest. You know, I don't know any better. So I'm a kid growing up, and you're the healthiest you can be because you're eating like this. But then I'm seeing some very overweight vegetarians or vegans, and I'm like, man, how does that work? And then like,
well, listen, here's a great example of that. Kevin Smith had a massive widowmaker heart attack. The doctor, thank God for modern medicine, saving his life. And he came out of it, and they were like, you shouldn't eat meat products. And his daughter's a vegan, and his daughter's like, you're going on a vegan diet. And so he starts on a vegan diet, and he starts to lose weight. And then he finds Veggie Grill. Veggie Grill is like McDonald's. It's like a vegan McDonald's. Everything is vegan, but
drive-through? Is it a drive-through?
I don't know. I'm sure it's there's multiple locations. I've only seen them in Los Angeles.
I feel like it's so key, man. Like at this point in time you got to have a drive-through.
It's cheeseburgers and fried chicken sandwiches and stuff like that, chicken nuggets, but it's vegan. And Kevin Smith is like, well, fuck, I can do this. This is easy. Starts eating that, stops losing weight, starts gaining weight. And he's like, okay, maybe it's more than just not eating animal products. You know, there's the schools of thought today and this is one of the problems with social media, where like you have to be team carnivore, which, sorry, no offense to you, I know you've done carnivore and had success at it, or team vegan. And it's like, these are not universal absolutes. It really, I think, comes down to the individual and what is going to be successful for them.
100%, man. I mean, I've struggled with weight my whole life, and I never understood like why my dad is always skinny and why I'm not, and we're eating the same stuff, man, daily. And I'm like, this doesn't make sense. Like, but it had nothing to do with just what we were eating. It had to do with my body, and it has to do with the way it obviously breaks down stuff, and it's different than my dad's body, I don't know. I never understood it. But I'm starting to understand that stuff more now that I did do a carnivore diet for 30 days and then slowly started adding stuff back. And then I've noticed what it would actually do to my body, instead of just feeling like I have a bunch of food and I don't know why I feel this way. But when I actually kind of did it the right way, I'm like, man, like these tomatoes make me get a rash and feel a certain way. And then there's different things. And then, dude, I went back to a regular quote unquote American diet, and I'm not talking like I'm going to fast food every day. I'm talking like, I'll have some cereal in the morning today, or, having a sandwich for lunch, or, just a traditional American diet, holy shit. What a terrible month. What a terrible month, man. I got sick. I think obviously, there's people get sick from other things, but I got sick 3 separate times, man.
Wow.
And I just felt sluggish. I felt like my allergies were kicking in, tired, just like, and man, I'll just say, dude, like my shits were all off, like when you're doing like, you're eating right, man, everything's kind of like consistent, wake up, you do your thing, you do boom, boom, boom. Everything's kind of cool. But now I'm like, oh man, what did I do to myself? How did I feel like I poisoned myself?
Yeah, the stretch from Thanksgiving through New Year's, that's a tough stretch for anybody trying to follow any kind of a plan. It just is.
Yep.
It's a tough stretch. So going back to me and fast food, it was withheld from me. Food was restricted in odd ways. And, when I had autonomy and a little money, I was like, I know what I like. I had that a handful of times as a kid. I'm going for that. And so partially convenience, partially rebellion, partially just my own compulsions. I did a lot of eating in seclusion. And there was something that was like kind of magical about like pulling up at a drive-through, kind of faking that you're like, you got somebody in the back in the car that they can't see. Yeah, I'm going to get you those chicken nuggets too. Yeah, I'll get you those. You want extra fries? Because I'm ordering for 3 people or 4 people and it's just me. And then I sit in my car in the parking lot and eat in peace with nobody watching me, to reduce my shame. That was a bad stretch. And so like, look, I understand it's convenient. It's easy. Cooking takes time. It takes effort. You got to go to the store. You got to buy everything. And then like, if you're not a trained chef, it's not always easy to make something that tastes good, especially if you're feeding a family.
It taste good is key, and having something that you actually want to eat, man, because anybody can just throw a couple things in a pan and create something. But man, if it's something that you don't feel like eating, you're going to struggle. You're going to struggle with losing or eating healthy, because now you feel like you're fighting yourself, or you're, like, I don't want to really eat this, but I'll do it because I know I'm supposed to. But when it's like that never works for me.
Yeah.
But when I'm able to look at it another way, like when I changed it to like, all right, food is fuel, and this is what's making my body feel good. And I'm looking at it a little bit differently, instead of like every meal is just like, oh, every meal is just an epic orgasm in my mouth, dude. Like, I don't need that. I thought I needed that shit, but I don't need it, man. I used to have this, I would have this whole thing planned out, right? So I would go get, let's say, like some Panda Express, and I'd get the meal, and then the extra, the extra entree, whatever you can, just get it, filled to the top. And then I have this whole thing laid out where I get back home. It's fine. It can get cold. No problem. I'm going to rewarm it. But I gotta go, and I gotta go smoke some weed, and I have to let that kind of kick in for 10 or 15 minutes, and then just chill, and then go warm the food up. And then it's almost like this whole, like, this sensual, like, beautiful thing. Now I'm just enjoying each one of these bites, dude, until all of it's fucking gone, you know?
Yeah.
Putting hot sauce on there and really taking my time and enjoying this food, man. And I realized I don't have to do this every single time I eat, you know, you don't have to have a fucking ritual where you're setting yourself up. And I mean, again, it's wonderful. And it's like, I absolutely love doing this, but it's like anything, man. You can't, too much of anything is never good. And you can't, you know, I know better, you know, I know the truth of like what's good and bad, and, you know,
Yeah.
shouldn't be mowing every fucking meal, you know?
That's right. Yeah. Sometimes it can just be fuel. And then sometimes, you know, Thanksgiving, there's nothing wrong with having a wonderful experience, a very pleasurable experience. But like, I try to have that, you know, 2 or 3 times a year.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And that seems to be okay.
And it seems like that's been some of my problems in the past, you know, of like, all right, you hit this stretch, and then you're almost like all these habits you've created kind of just, you know, slowly start to go away. And you're like, wait a minute, man. Like I had some pretty good habits where, man, I was cooking, you know, let's say mac and cheese for my kids. And, you know, I knocked the spoon, and then I'm about to put the spoon in the sink to clean it because we're done. And I want to lick the spoon, and I want to like get that last bite of mac that's in the bottom. And it got it to the point where I'm like, nope, no licks, dude. No licks, none of this, because I need to stay in my lane. I need to stay straight. And I do really good when I'm like that, when I'm really strict to myself. But once I start giving myself that lick, it's game over, man.
Dude, some of my biggest disasters have come cleaning up after Thanksgiving or Christmas dinner, where I make my plate. It's not a dieter's plate, but it's not a glutton's plate either.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm going to eat this. I don't need seconds. I do it. I eat it. I don't eat seconds. I'm fine. I move away from the table. We're playing family games or something. And then I get the idea, like, I should go clean up. That'd be nice, so that we had a clean space and the family could migrate back over to the table at some point. And by the time I've done cleaning up, I've consumed 2 times what I ate for dinner. Just like, well, I'm not going to throw that away, but I can't save that. And, you know, well, the stuffing doesn't all fit in the Tupperware, so I'll just eat this last couple of bites.
There's a little bite here, the crusty part on the corner, man.
Yeah.
Like, oh, I'm not going to let that crusty part go to waste.
Yeah.
And it's not going to be as good if I refrigerate it. And
right.
So I just, I'm with you, man. I've definitely stuck down the ends of some pie crusts, cleaning up, and just, you know, at this point, I kind of now I try to go the opposite and just like, no touching. No, you can't do that. And that's just how I am as a human, you know?
I would always get like, you know, my kids will blot their pizza. They don't like greasy pizza, so they're throwing napkins down on their pizza, and then they don't eat their crust. And I'm like, if you didn't blot your pizza and you let the grease run off onto the cardboard, and then you sopped it up with the crust, that's a much better way to go about life, I think, than what you're doing. I would never tell them that, because I know I'm wrong, because it leads me to obesity, but like,
exactly,
that's my inclination.
I'll be honest with you. I have never dapped my pizza. I mean, whatever grease is on there, I feel like that belongs.
And if anything, I want to add a binder like Parmesan cheese to hold it on, you know, to keep it static.
See, we're on the same page, my man. We definitely have that, you know, that fat boy thought process, man.
Yeah, that's right.
Maybe some red pepper flakes. We're good to go.
Yeah.
So why am I talking to Ethan Suplee? How is MeatDad involved with Ethan Suplee? So I want to touch on this a little bit and tell you a little bit about how we met. Or, I mean, I'm not going to tell you. I'm going to let everybody know about at least how I see it. So I had an issue with. I tried to start a hat company and thought a great name was Salt Lick, and it's one of those things that horses lick, right? I'm like, or cows, or I'm like, this is great, Salt Lick, and decided to make a few hats, put them out there, sold 3 hats, and then a couple days later I get a email saying that I cease and desist, and I've never had one of these, man. I have no idea what's going on. I'm kind of like, oh shit, dude, what do I do? And at the same time, I was going through something with a meat company that the guy had taken his life, and it was this whole meat company had shut down, and all these people had trusted me to get him this meat, and now I'm just like, all these things had happened right at the same time, and I'm like, dude, what is going on? And I get a message in my my inbox from Ethan Suplee, man. I was shocked. I was first off, man, huge fan, no joke. This isn't. I'm not over here to bob your knob or anything, but dude, Boy Meets World, all this shit I grew up on, man. Like I'm American History X, dude. Some of these, like I watched that, I watched Shawshank Redemption a shit ton of times, but American History X, my youth, I watched that so many times, and it was something that I've never. It was a culture shock to me, and all of it was just like, man, this is real life in some areas, and it brought to life like what some people really go through, man. And that to me was what that and still is one of my favorite movies, man. Just all these, remember the Titans, man. I mean, all these things, like I said. So when I got this message from you in my box, I'm immediately like, pinching myself. Is this really happening? And you wrote something very kind, man. You just basically were telling me like, don't worry about this. You've been through something similar, and kind of just gave me some positive reinforcement. And I was just shocked, man. You took the time out of your day just to message me, and someone that you just follow, some random guy, and that meant a lot to me. And it really meant a lot, and it changed my perspective on I would say humans, man. It's you've got your own things going on. You've got your family, you've got your career, you've got all these things, but you took your time out just to send me a message, and that meant a lot. And so I've actually taken that and done that myself to a lot of my followers, and I know what it actually does for that person. And so, that was something that really resonated with me. And so, dude, that meant a lot. And, so beyond that, we started chatting back and forth, and we started getting along, man. And everything that you kind of, you've gone through, that resonates with me, and, your weight loss journeys and just the person you are. And I think the way you speak, man, it's so poetic, and it's thought. You think before you speak, and the way you put the words together, man, it's I think it's pretty dope, man. And that's you, man. That's you as an actor. That's you as a regular person as well. You're a good ass dude, man. And I appreciate you, stepping over and sending me a message and just being a regular human being. And that's like helped me realize that shit, man, there's a lot of people out there that they go a lot deeper than what you just see, so
Yeah, well, I mean, that was my pleasure. You were going through something tough, and I really do appreciate what you're doing. I do see you as part of this community of positivity on social media, which I tend to agree is mostly not a positive place. It's
Yep.
it's mostly political, which I think is all gross, and or selling you something or presenting something in a way that's unrealistic. And then you can go like, or, hey, maybe your life would be enhanced if you cooked, and here are some ways you could maybe find more joy in cooking.
Yeah.
I think that's one of the super special things. And people gravitate towards it, man. People love to watch cooking videos.
It's true. It's true, man. I don't know what it is, even, the ones that you're talking, not talking. There's so many creators out there that just do amazing cooking videos. And me, I am not, well, I've grown up, for the last 20 years, I've been a meat cutter, and I am not a video guy whatsoever. And I've had to learn that part of it. And, it's really cool to see that, some of my videos do just as well or better than some of these people that have, gone to school to create these, the videos and the lighting and just all the stuff that makes a beautiful video. And I'm just being real. And I think that I love that I can just kind of here's my iPhone, man. I'm going to record some stuff, do a few edits, and then I'm going to tell you what's going on. And then it's fucking amazing that I get people that respond so well.
Yeah, but and what I think the best thing, or the thing that I gravitate towards you, is the knowledge pass. You are taking information that I crave, that I will put into use. I know what you're talking about. There are some guys out there, and I'll watch their videos, like, and I'm captivated because everything's beautiful. It's the perfect angle. It's the perfect lighting. They found the perfect tomato. They're going to slice it in the perfect way. And then somehow they're going to, confit it in guar gum. And I'm still going to watch, though I have no desire to ever make what they're making. I'm never going to do that. But they've made a pretty video, so I watch their pretty video. You're actually giving me information that I'm going to use, like a good cut of meat. You go to I'm in New York right now. The butcher here is Lobel's. If I wanted to go and just get a couple of ribeyes at Lobel's, I'm spending a couple $100 there, just to serve two people a nice big steak. You could probably find a restaurant that you could get a cheaper ribeye at in the city. But if I want to make it myself, so suddenly the dynamics are off there. You're like, well, I could just go down the street to a place that serves a decent ribeye and I'll get it cheaper than if I go to the butcher that I know has the best ribeye and I make it myself. I'm going to be spending more money. And you have all the tricks and hacks of like how to do it in a way that is, number one, beneficial. Like, here's all the cuts of the meat, here's how you break down the muscles, here's how you separate them. Like, I didn't know you could get a steak out of a chuck roast. I thought you had to hammer a chuck roast. You know what I mean? I really did. I never once considered looking at a chuck roast as anything other than this is going to be a stew or a braise or, cooked for a long time on a smoker, and I'm going to shred it. I never thought about eating that piece of meat like a steak. And now, since I have, and it's fantastic.
And that's most people. So obviously humans, we all have a comfort zone, and then we're all creatures of habit, right? And so it's the same thing over and over. Behind that meat counter, I can tell you if somebody's walking up to the counter, man, I can look at that human and probably guess what they're going to order, right? And it's just funny because it's just creatures of habit, right? And so if you know that, like, hey, I like ribeyes, right? And I like, New York strips, and I like these things. And so I know, and so I grew up around these people too, like that, my family is just like, I know what I like. I don't like anything else. I only like these things, and that's what I'm going to have, right? And so I grew up around that. And then seeing other people, I'm like, man, there is a lot of people that are like this, that just, they don't want to try. I'm like, dude, no way. check this out. It's half the price today and you can get this and it's better. Like, no. I just give me the ribeye, or whatever. And I'm just like, hang on. And so being able to give people some more knowledge about all these cuts or these different pieces of meat that could be cooked differently and, broke down differently. And you just got to think outside of the box. And so what it is like, you have you have a London broil. So London broil has to be cooked like this. And, otherwise you're wrong and so for me, there's no wrong or right answer, man. You're cooking. So it's all trial and error. And so being behind that counter, I tried hundreds of different ways to cook all these pieces of meat because I'm sampling off, some stuff to customers. And let's just say it doesn't taste as good or it's not as tender. It's not that big of a deal, man. It's it was a sample anyway. And that was the fun about it, man, is being able to try different things. I'm cooking a rump roast in a frying pan in the meat department, and it turned out good after 8 hours, dude. And it's like, how the fuck did you do that? And it's like, I don't know. We just had to figure it out. Like, it needs liquid and we know it needs this. So let's just try it. And then all these things can work. But again, man, you don't want to waste your money. You don't want to spend, I just spent $30 on this piece of meat. Now nobody wants to eat it. Right. It gets kind of nerve wracking too. The same thing with buying a filet roast or something. People get a little nervous. They're like, I don't want to fuck this up, but at the same time, it's like, just go with the, dude, you don't have to do a fucking practice roast, man. I can't even tell you how many people did practice roasts before Christmas. So they got it right for their family. And it's
listen, dude, and you go on the internet, you jump on social media, and I, for 20 plus years, have been doing a prime rib for Christmas.
Yeah.
And for 15 or 16 of those years, it was like, I'm sweating bullets because my kids are savages. If you overcook that piece of meat, they're going to let you know. They're going to be unhappy. You ruined Christmas. I have to make 3 different sauces. I have to make a red wine reduction for my oldest daughter. I have to make a chimichurri for my youngest daughter. And I have to do a horseradish cream sauce for my wife. So this is
I love it,
key
dude.
shit. When I learned the amount of anxiety that would go into me with meat thermometers and how long did I let it come to room temp and how hot is the oven and am I cooking it low and slow and then searing it at the end, all of that shit. And then I come to find this, what I think of as a truly magical preparation for the ribeye, for the prime rib, which is 500 degrees, 5 to 6 minutes per pound, turn the oven off, leave it alone for 2 hours, don't open the oven door. And it has come out perfect every time I've done it for the last 6 years. And there are people that will shit on you for cooking it that way. They'll be mad at you if you cook it that way. And I'm like, motherfucker, my prime rib is perfectly cooked. I'm sorry if you don't like how I cooked it. It's perfectly cooked.
There's a lot of opinions, man. A lot of opinions. And that's the way I do it every single time. I'm with you, man. 500 degrees. Same thing, man. I've done 5 minutes a pound. I've also tried 10 minutes a pound, seen what the difference was. Didn't make much of a difference.
But maybe you get a deeper crust on it, a deeper sear.
You know what? Not even. I thought I would. That was my attempt. It was like, maybe I'll get a better crust, but in all actuality, it didn't really affect it too much.
Yeah, because honestly, I'm happy with the 5 minute crust. The 5 minute per pound crust. The crust is pretty damn good. And by the way, I got to tell you this. I was my kids are in schools all over the place and in other countries, and so it's a big deal. And we all kind of met in New York for Christmas. And my 19-year-old daughter called me 3 times before I left to make sure I brought the daddy dust.
Yes. Are you kidding me?
No. I swear to God. I got 3 separate calls. Have you packed it? I haven't packed it. I won't forget it. Another dedicated call. Have you packed it? I haven't packed it. You were a week from traveling. I don't need to pack your your favorite spice a week out, right? I haven't started packing anything. And then the day before I left, I called her and I said, guess what I packed? And she knew exactly what I was talking about. The
She
daddy
did
dust.
dust.
She
Yeah,
loves
dude,
it.
no
She's
way. That
obsessed with
makes
it.
me. I'm
She
smiling, dude, ear to ear right now.
she will
Well,
not you've kind of ruined her a little bit because it packs a lot of flavor. And so now a steak that's under seasoned for her is a real turnoff.
I mean, hey, you gotta, you can't really blame her. Can't really blame the
She
gal,
likes
but
that flavor.
you're gonna have to set me up with some shipping info, man. If she's at school somewhere, I'm gonna send
Her
her some of that.
school is in another country. I'll
Okay,
order it, and we have a couple bottles of it, but it is her absolute favorite spice, her
dude,
favorite rub. She is obsessed with it.
that is incredible. This is not I didn't ask Ethan to say any of
No,
this
no,
over
it's
here. I'm just
true. It
telling you
just
guys,
happens to be true. My 19-year-old daughter is obsessed with that stuff.
that is amazing. Shout out, what's your daughter's name?
Clementine.
Clementine, dude, shout out. I appreciate it so much that you made my heart throb this morning. So thank you so much, man. That's my daughter is the same, dude. So my daughter, she loves that daddy is like on a bottle of seasoning. She's 5, and she's like, daddy, can I have some daddy? Can we use daddy dust? She's taken this and she's eating it out of the bottle, and just I think it's more just to show dad that that she can eat this stuff. But it makes me so happy, man, that her and my son, they're both huge steak kids, and all this obviously like let them cook with me, and we have so much fun with it. I think that has a lot to do with it, man. It's just getting them involved. It's super fun, and so it makes me happy that your daughter also is a
Listen, I'm not saying I don't love it too. I love it too.
No.
I'm alone in the house. Everybody left. I'm here for a couple days alone, and I have a really beautiful outside skirt steak in my fridge. And I was if I'm supposed to have this business dinner tonight, but if that falls apart, that outside skirt steak's going to get a little daddy dust, and we're going to have a meal for one.
Okay, that's one of my I would say top 3, man. Top 3 outside skirt.
It is. I think it is the most underrated. Like you hear, there's like, there's strip people, there's ribeye people, and then there's fillet people. I tend to not want to associate with fillet people, even though my wife is a fillet person.
Yeah.
But it's not really, I don't think of that as a steak. That's a steak I'm going to eat if I'm really being strict on my diet. If I'm eating a steak, if I'm like, it's a steak night, that's never entering my mind. Sometimes I will get a porterhouse and I'll enjoy that fillet, but I would never ever on my own order a fillet.
Because you're getting a bite, maybe you say you take a little bite of the fillet and then you go back to the strip.
Yeah.
So it's not, if I'm just constantly eating the fillet the whole time, it's boring, man. It's a boring steak.
But the skirt steak, and particularly the outside skirt steak,
yep,
that is an underrated, slept on cut of meat, I think. And you don't see it in enough steakhouses. Whenever I see it on a menu, that's what I order because I do like it so much.
It's absolutely one of the most slept on pieces. And I think it gets a little bit of confusion. So there's an outside skirt steak and there's also an inside skirt steak. And if you don't know, that's going to really throw you off. So the inside skirt steak is a lot tougher.
The inside skirt steak I think of as like really fancy carne asada.
Exactly.
I will hammer that and cut it into small pieces. I'm not looking to cook an inside skirt steak medium rare.
No, and that's exactly what I was gonna say. That's what you do not want to do. So I've got one of my best friends, man. So I don't know. We're in our mid-20s, and I'm always coming home I'm bringing home steaks and I'm cooking dinner. It's me and 2 roommates, 2 of my best friends. And so, my buddy Travis, he's like, hey, I'm going to cook dinner tonight, like, you don't worry about it. I'm going to do steak. I'm like, cool, man. So he was all pumped up. He got he's like, man, I got some skirt steak, because he didn't even know about skirt steak until, I introduced him to all this stuff. So he's all excited, he's like looking at me, I got some skirt steak. And I'm like, nice, man. And I look and I'm like, oh shit. Like, I'm all, I didn't say anything, at first I'm like, let's see what he does. I don't know maybe he's got a plan. Right. So he cooks it like a regular steak, tries to keep it medium rare. And, he's making steak sandwiches.
Ooh.
Well, this guy puts it on like a hard French roll. No, it's not a steak sandwich slices either, bro. He puts the whole fucking skirt steak.
Oh my God.
Flat.
So you're supposed to just bite through it?
So you're supposed to bite through this thing. And it was one of these situations where got through the bread, yank, and the whole fucking piece of skirt steak comes out of the bread. And I'm trying so hard to chew this thing. And he was so proud of himself, man, because he had done it. And then he took a bite and he's like, this tastes like shit. And I'm like, dude, I didn't want to say that, but it's not all you. It wasn't your fault, man. And so then I got to explain to him, like, dude, you did everything the right way, but with this particular cut, it's not going to be as good. What you want to do is marinate it, blah, blah, blah. There's different things you can do. And
that's a cut of meat. Honestly, I don't mind well done,
Exactly. Because it has so much flavor.
Yeah. The ribeye cap, like,
Yep.
By the way, the butcher, it's a very fancy butcher in New York, and I'm not plugging them because I want people to go there, but this butcher in New York, you go in there, every time I've ever been in there, they sell a whole ribeye cap. You can just buy a whole ribeye cap, which is not something I frequently see in a butcher shop.
No.
And it's insanely expensive, but that is like gold meat. That is probably my favorite piece of meat. The cap on the ribeye, it's just so dynamite. And that's another cut. I don't mind that well done.
Yep. That, you got hanger steak.
Yeah.
So hanger steak, all those textures are very similar with that skirt, with the hanger, and then with the cap on the ribeye. It's all very similar. And so I think, those are definitely some of my top, not talked about steaks, and then you got the Denver steak, which comes off of the chuck as well as the chuck eye. We talk about the chuck eye all the time, but those are also, the flat iron, man. We used to get that for $2 a pound, man, $3 a pound. And I'm not even talking about like that long ago. It was, you'd sell it. It comes off the shoulder. And so you'd put it, a shoulder roast, and then people didn't really buy a lot of flat irons, so you'd put them next to it for the same price. So you're selling flat irons, and then they realized, man, if you butterfly these things, and then you take that big old piece of gristle out of the middle, this is some of the best shit. And so, flat iron kind of took off too, man. So all these secret butcher cuts that I grew up getting for cheap are now they're merchandising them, but that's what I want to teach people too, man, is you can still get all this stuff off some of these cuts too. You can get these Denver steaks or some of these chuck eyes, or, just nice pieces of like a butterball cut off of the London broil, or the cap off of there. And like, you're like, what the fuck is that? And, a $4 piece of meat, you can turn into some really good stuff, but it's like preparation and figuring out the right way.
That's right. And you can have this magical meal, and it doesn't cost you an arm and a leg. It doesn't. Exactly. You don't have to sous vide everything. You can sous vide's fine, but like, you don't have to. Take some time. Like I saw recently, you did oxtails.
Oh my God,
oxtails are incredible. If you like ossobuco, try oxtails. They'll knock your Aunt Connie's socks off. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like, it's insane how good oxtails are. But like, that's time. That takes time. That's like, that could be a good crock pot meal. You put it in the morning, you eat a nice dinner.
Exactly.
But like, I think a lot of people are going to look at something like that and be a little like, I don't want to eat the tail, but it's delicious.
It is delicious, and it's something that if you're not used to it, it's a lot of comfort zone stuff, man. And I think again, being behind that butcher counter, you get to see that people do not usually like to jump out of their comfort zone. There are obviously some people that, like, you and me, and people that like to go up and be like, hey, what do you have that's a little bit different? I want to mess around with some stuff, man.
Yeah.
Some sweetbreads in the back, or some, it's like a thymus gland. What the fuck? And but that's the stuff that is fun to mess around with for me, and try different things. And if it doesn't turn out good, try it again, man.
Yeah.
And then try it again, and then you'll figure out how to fucking fix it,
When my youngest daughter was 3, she said one random day, I want to be a vegetarian. And we were like, oh, okay, no problem. We will figure this out for you. And the next day she wanted bacon. And I was like, listen, bacon comes from an animal. This is not vegetarian. And she was like, thought about it and was like, well, I like bacon more than I need to be a vegetarian, so I'm going to eat the bacon. And I took that weekend, my youngest 2 kids at the time, they were 3 and 5, to a butcher shop in Pasadena. I don't know if this place still exists. This was 15 years ago.
Yeah.
It was the only butcher in Los Angeles proper that would break down game meat for people. There's not a lot of hunting in the area of Los Angeles, but you can go up to Tejon and do some hunting. And I don't think you can hunt in Angeles Crest, but this was like right at the foot of Angeles Crest, and you could go in and see them breaking down a deer. You know what I mean? Like there's just a shot deer that was field dressed. It's got its antlers, its hoofs, everything. And you can watch them break it down. By the time they're getting cows and pigs, they're already quartered and like, they're not breaking them down quite in the same way. But I took my kids.
Exactly.
I took my kids and I was like, I want you to be aware that when you eat an animal, this is what it starts as. It starts as this living thing. And we went and watched them break down a deer, and my kids were then still okay with eating meat, because for so many people, the idea of meat is just, a little piece of styrofoam wrapped in cellophane, and that's meat. And the connection to what it was is missing to some degree, So my kids have been on the, let's try something radical. When we got tacos, we got cabeza and lengua and stuff like that, and I always think, I don't know if this is necessarily true or not, but my perception was that the offcuts, which were then given to the impoverished people, while the wealthy people ate fillets, the most boring and easy to cook cut, the people had to do something a bit more creative with the other cuts. You had to put a little bit more thought into it, but then you wound up with something kind of magical.
Yes.
Tongue is magical. It's a magical cut of meat if it's cooked properly.
Yes.
And
so tender, man.
It's insane.
But flavorful, so it's tender like a fillet, but with some flavor, so which is really, it's wild, man. It's the thought process too. So growing up, I grew up in a household where, no, again, man, it was nothing strange, nothing like that. That would never. Oh, my mom literally does not eat pasta or spaghetti out at an Italian restaurant because she said she doesn't like it as much as her own.
Yeah,
but won't even try it, which is insane to me. And I'm out here I'm like, give me that tongue, man. Right. Give me this and this and this. When my kids are the same, they're like, yeah, Dad, I want to try. And I had my daughter kind of asked the same thing at one point. She's 5 and she asked me about chicken nuggets, man. And she goes, did chicken nuggets come from little chickies, Dad? And I'm like, oh shit, And then I start to explain to her the process of, she's like, we kill them for this, and and I'm like, so look, they live their life, and they have the stuff that we try to buy is the stuff that they have a really good life. So they live as long as until you're aware that you live and then you're going to die. So they live, and their whole time they're living, they're having a great time. They get to live with their friends and do this. But when they die, instead of just, maybe some people bury people or you burn them, instead of all that, they provide us with nourishment and keep our bodies strong. And so their bodies and their lives now, coming to us, and it makes us strong. And so explaining that to her in that way made her go from like, I don't want these chicken nuggets, this is sad, Daddy, to like, oh, okay, like they're going to live and they're going to die, right? And so trying to explain to her in a way of like, I don't have to tell her that, yes, we're just raising them to eat them,
right?
We don't have to get into that yet. We will, obviously we can get into all that, but if my 5-year-old doesn't, we don't need to get that deep, but I would like to, just let her know like, hey, this is the way that this goes. And, it made it a lot smoother and easier for her. And, she has no problem with any of it, man. She'll cut the stuff with me and eat the stuff. And, as long as, she knows that it had a good life.
Yeah.
Hey, it's good stuff, man.
Yeah. Yeah, it's good stuff. Brother, I have more meetings today I have to go do.
Yeah, I probably have 3 million more questions for you. So I'll stop there because there's just
I feel like we could just talk all day, but then that's not a good podcast episode.
Yeah, we can just shoot the shit all day long, and we'll have to do that here one of these days. But I can't thank you enough for coming on. We'll have to do this again. I need to I'm gonna send you out some more daddy dust for your daughter, man. Thank you.
Hell
dude,
yeah.
That was cool to hear. And dude, I appreciate you coming into my life,
Yeah,
and
me too, brother. You're a good dude.
Yeah, you are as well. And I can't wait to do more stuff with you and connect and meet up in person, man. I just I don't know if I think I just had my newest addition, so I have 3 kids now.
Congratulations, brother. That's a mitzvah.
I got a 3-week-old, so it's a pretty exciting part of the the life right now, and so I'm kind of going through what you've already done a few times. So
that's incredible. That's incredible, brother.
Yes, sir. So, dude, thank you.
Right. My pleasure.
I appreciate you coming on, and we'll do this again soon. Thank you guys for tuning in to the MeatDad Podcast, episode 1 in the books.
Yeah.
It could have gone any better, man.
No, that was awesome. All right, brother. Tony, thank you for having me. I'll talk to you soon.
All right, Ethan. Appreciate you, brother.
See you, brother.
All right.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
You just got your chance to watch the MeatDad Podcast. If you can't watch it, start listening to it. If you can't listen, you better fucking get a life. Come on now.